Like many other juniors in high school, I hope to find myself on a college campus within the next 2 years. What will the discussion of ideas at college look like? Will it look like this? Or will it look like this? An issue fundamental to the functioning of a democracy deserves some serious consideration this election season. So why aren't the 2020 presidential candidates addressing it more? Why is free speech at the heart of discourse in college? Why does it matter who's allowed to speak on campus and what they have to say? A 2018 survey from Gallup polling shows 61% of U.S. college students agree that the climate on their campus prevents some people from expressing their views because others might find them offensive.
The purpose of the university is not to make students comfortable, it's to make students think.
These are places where we take people who come from different backgrounds and we put them into rooms with each other and for a period of years, and go figure that that's going to cause some friction.
This prioritization of emotional safety above all else is unrealistic. It's doing students a disservice. When they're out in the world, their feelings will be hurt and they will not know how to cope with that.
You want to let speech flourish. Bad speech gets combated by good speech. So thinking about some of our current issues, dishonest speech or lies are combated by truthful speech.
The same Gallup polling survey shows 29% of students now, up from 22% in 2016, would rather campuses be positive learning environments for all students by prohibiting certain speech that is offensive or biased.
Every other capitalist country has gone along fine without a First Amendment, right?
I'm sympathetic to the view that a university could say, look, we've got limited resources. We want students to hear from people who have something valuable to say. So students, if you want to invite a provocateur who's going to call people names, you can't use university facilities.
Speech, like everything else in this country, falls along the predictable lines of race, class, gender, and every other form of oppression.
I don't think people who are advocates of limiting free speech are opposed to free speech. I think they're coming at it from a different set of interests. Is there really equity if everyone has free speech but someone has a bigger microphone or a bigger platform?
What about speech that is vile and offensive? Should hate speech be protected? 46% of students enrolled in four-year colleges say hate speech should not be protected under the Constitution.
You know, you often see, sometimes you'll see politicians and well-educated people say that hate speech isn't free speech, which is just objectively, measurably untrue and inaccurate under the First Amendment.
The kinds of language that the Supreme Court has found that is not okay is it's credible threats, it's incitement to violence. But as far as hate speech goes, hate speech is permissible.
A lot of the First Amendment law gets started because you have people opposing our actions in World War I or World War II, socialists advocating for socialism or communism during the Cold War.
Free speech is the way that disenfranchised groups throughout history, and particularly American history, have been able to get their message out. I think about movements like suffragists, abolitionists, civil rights activists. Those views were considered unwelcome and hateful at the time, but they were able, through the strength of their arguments, to persuade people of the validity of their point of view.
The point where hate speech becomes a problem that a college needs to intervene on is where a reasonable student would look at the situation and say, you know what, it's not safe for me to be here. There's a big difference between feeling safe and feeling constantly validated about everything all the time.
How do you protect students from hateful acts? I think it requires a culture of respect among students, among administrators, among faculty.
President Trump or the Trump administration issued an executive order essentially announcing, universities need to abide by the First Amendment protections, not invade free speech. Well, that's sort of saying you have to follow the law that's already the law. It's pretty clear to me that the Trump administration is using this, and it's savvy for political reasons, because it allows them to say, hey, look at these, elite institutions who are actively restricting your rights.
You have a right to protest, but I don't quite understand why anybody thinks it's a good idea to deny somebody else the right to express his or her point of view.
The President of the United States is pouring even more gasoline on that fire, attacking our free press as a, quote, enemy of the people.
With the stakes this high in 2020, We need candidates to look deeper into this defining issue instead of making symbolic gestures that mean nothing. Because if candidates aren't discussing the issue, others will step in to define it.
And I'm here today because I believe that we must continue to stand for free expression.